Good evening, my friends of darkness. Prepare to cross the boundaries between the real and the impossible. Here, every word can ignite a dormant fear within you. Therefore, I recommend, put on your headphones. Only then will you be able to feel every detail, every whisper, and every approaching shadow. The storm blurred the city street for Tim Avery as he walked briskly along the sidewalk. The rain was falling hard enough to make people run for their cars or take shelter under storefront awnings. For Tim, however, walking in the rain felt right. He felt like it might cool the silent anger boiling in his chest. Maybe it would have helped, if it weren't for the chaos of traffic to his right. It was rush hour, and drivers saw no need to drive carefully in the rain. Lights flashed. Horns honked. Every few seconds, a tire hit a puddle, splashing water onto the sidewalk. Inside his head, Tim relived the last hour of his life. He had just returned home for spring break, his senior year of college. His parents were proud that he was about to graduate with a degree in business administration. This seemed to have been the plan all his life. He was supposed to get a respectable degree, a respectable job, and have a respectable family. But after 4 years, Tim realized something. He hated administration. So, coming home that week, he informed his parents that he planned to enroll in art school and pursue his dream of becoming an artist. It hadn't gone well. Expressions like throwing your life away and you're not that good were thrown around. That's when he left the house and decided to take a walk, despite the storm. A clap of thunder brought him back to the present. Looking around, he realized that while he'd been lost in thought, he'd taken a wrong turn. The buildings looked vaguely familiar, but he couldn't quite place his location. There was a rundown bar, a generic internet cafe, and a pawn shop with a faded sign. The other buildings were abandoned, their dark windows staring at him. As Tim stared into one of the dark storefronts, a small figure appeared out of nowhere and bumped into him, nearly knocking him to the wet sidewalk. Catching his balance, he looked for the boy. He heard footsteps in the puddles behind him and, turning, saw the child running. For a moment, the boy turned his head and looked directly into his eyes. Something in his eyes was wrong. Before Tim could understand, the boy had turned into an alley and disappeared. Taking a deep breath, Tim decided he'd walked enough. He glanced quickly at the bar across the street. He couldn't read the name, it began with an R, but it looked uninviting. Then he noticed the internet cafe a few feet away, Angel's Web Cafe. Tim thought he might just need an angel right now. Entering, he found a long, narrow space, surprisingly crowded. The lighting was dim, and the black and white decor clashed. Circles of computers were crowded with young people he didn't know. There were no free machines. He walked up to the counter. "Any computers available?" he asked. The attendant, with a bored, hipster air, looked around. "You'll have to wait for someone to free up. Want a coffee in the meantime?" Tim ordered the cheapest drink and, as he waited, noticed some niches in the back. "Those are for connecting your own laptop," the attendant explained. "Better wait." Tim went to the most secluded corner but found something unexpected, an abandoned, black, unbranded laptop with headphones resting on top. On any other day, he wouldn't open someone else's computer. But it wasn't an ordinary day. He looked around, took a deep breath, and opened the device. The screen showed only two icons, my computer and recycle bin. He was about to close it when he noticed another strange icon in the corner, a symbol between a setting sun and a compass rose. He clicked it. The screen went white, the symbol grew in the center, and the words appeared, Western Crossroads. An unfamiliar browser opened. The buttons were strange symbols. A chill ran through Tim. It was a dark web browser. 4 websites were marked. First in an unknown language, but then a thunderclap, one that made the entire cafe tremble. Something about the 4th name drew him in. He clicked. A broadcast began. The symbol of serpents, water dripping like blood and silver. Suddenly, a man in a gray suit and a red and silver tie appeared. His face, tattooed with serpents, exuded power and repulsion. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the altar. You may call me Tescat. He explained the rules. Money was worthless. What mattered were sacrifices. The first lot was true love. Images appeared in the water, including an old flame of Tim's. Bids began, my sense of hearing, the year of my life, my guitar skills. Until Tim, almost without realizing it, typed, my parents. The chat went silent. Tescat smiled with dark pleasure. Now that's a bid. Sold. Shock washed over Tim. Then another clap of thunder, and the lights went out. On the screen, only, transferring to collections. When the power came back on, Tescat stared at him through the screen. Mr. Avery. I think we need to talk in person. Tim ran outside, but the world was distorted. Signs displayed the symbols. Cars bore serpent emblems. Eyes glowed in the dark windows. Desperately, he entered the bar across the street. Inside, it seemed normal, until he heard a cough behind him. Tescat sat down beside him. You're not dreaming, Tim. You owe me a sacrifice. The room transformed, stone walls, torches, the glistening waterfall. He stood before an altar, a human skull in the center. Tescat explained. This is the tomb of Relk, one of the ancient gods. I am but his aspect, the sacrifice. He slit his wrist with a green blade, filling 2 cups with golden blood. Let us toast. Drink, and the pact will be sealed. Tim, however, questioned. He discovered the truth, the auction was a test. Anyone who sacrificed other humans marked their own soul. Relk would collect their soul upon death. When Tescat became enraged, Tim reacted. He grabbed the skull from the altar and smashed it into the priest's face. Golden blood flew. Tim ran, using the blood to draw a portal on the wall. The moment Tescat revealed his monstrous form, jaguar tattoos, golden spikes embedded in his body, the portal glowed. Tim used the cup as a doorknob and stepped through. He passed out. When he woke up, he was back on the street, in front of the bar, now called Ruby's. He picked up his cell phone and called his parents. When the call answered, Tescat's voice replied. Congratulations on your daring escape, Timmy. Dread ran cold through his blood. But then the voice changed. It was his father, for real. Tim hung up, took a deep breath. He thought about what he had seen. Then he walked back to the internet cafe. After all, there were still 3 other sites in Western Crossroads. And this time, he didn't feel desperate. He felt lucky. And so ends another descent into the shadows. But remember, some stories don't end when the video ends. They continue, lurking, waiting for the next night. If you felt the shiver run down your spine, like, subscribe, and share this ritual with other travelers of darkness. Until next time. And don't forget, fear may be closer than you think.